Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted Coding. Today, we have in front of us GitHub. GitHub is, of course, a version control software at its heart. You'll see lots of little things you can do with it, but you take a look at one of my public repositories, you can just go back and see what kind of changes to code you've done. Now, this is obviously a very, very small, simple project, but if you have something gigantic, an open source project with thousands of collaborators, you might have thousands and thousands of changes that GitHub can keep track of. Now, one of the real problems I have is I am a hobbyist. I program, for fun on my own. I don't work for an employer. I don't write code for an employer and work in a team and all of that. So as a result, my understanding of GitHub is very superficial. It's merely there to put it online, to share, to have kind of a single track of changes. So everything is basically done by me. It's just one branch. It goes from top to bottom, one at a time, basically. But when you start working with teams, when you start working on larger projects, you're going to find all sorts of very, very useful features. For example, branches. I don't really write all that much that is complex, so I only ever have the master branch. But other people will have different branches for, say, development features, testing. Every developer gets their own branch or something like that. And what happens is you merge it back into a master branch. So, for example, I may be on a team. I'll work on a branch that's Anson specific, just working along the features. And when I've completed something that's working, I might merge it back to, the overall product instead of making changes that may affect other people's work and getting messy that way. So what am I trying to say here? Well, what I'm trying to say is GitHub is incredibly powerful. As a hobbyist, I have, a very skin deep understanding of how to use GitHub and all the features. And I have a feeling even really good professional programmers sometimes don't dig deep into the problems, the potential uses of GitHub. Now, I have been using GitHub a little while to, in a private kind of capacity, to keep notes of my own, whether it's for courses, whether it's for books I read, things I have to keep track of. And you'll see here that I've read a book on private sector privacy, and I've written some notes on it. What I find really interesting is we think of GitHub as something for programmers. We write code, people will look at line numbers, and everybody in that space, any programmer really is looking at GitHub. There is no one in that space that isn't familiar with Git or GitHub, or at least have an understanding of it. On the other hand, there's more and more people using GitHub for other uses. For example, I am using it to keep track of my notes. What I want to do is find a way to allow other people to interact with my GitHub repositories without having their own GitHub account, without requiring plugins in their Visual Studio Code or downloading GitHub Desktop. What I want to find out is if there's a way they can just email me, essentially, or give me some sort of instructions to say, line number, line number 45 has a mistake. And I am just trying to look for the button to show the line number. but maybe I'm okay. Whatever. Let's say there's a spelling mistake on line. I think that's 10, maybe, or so. I spelled territorial wrong, or I should capitalize this thing. I'd like a layperson to be able to provide a line number, provide kind of suggested changes, and pass it on without a GitHub account. And I'm looking at the GitHub API. I'm also looking at pull requests, forking, and I want to find out if there's a way to kind of make it simple, make it accessible to someone else. And that's kind of the driving goal. And I have no clue how that's going to look like. My initial thought is pull requests are traditionally how you do this. You fork and create your own version of this notes, bookmarks, random repository. You make some modifications, and then you mark it as a pull request to this one to tip me off that there is some sort of issue. I want to know if I can handle it for them. Can I fork my own repository? Can I do a pull request on my own repository and kind of move on from there? So I don't know how the end result looks like, but I kind of want to handle it for them. But ideally, I'd like their changes to be recorded in GitHub somehow, whether it's an issue, it's a pull request, something like that. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll see how the end result looks like, how to wrap our heads around it, really. Okay, we're just going to speed through that last section because I don't think it was all that helpful. What I did was create a very simple repo with some lorem ipsum text. The background to all of this, why I'm doing this, is because I want to put a number of legal documents online, and I want to allow people to interact with it. Now, these obviously wouldn't be programmers that are suggesting changes to legal documents. They'd be lawyers and other people, business people, and so on, who wouldn't necessarily know how to use GitHub, who wouldn't necessarily want to have an account on GitHub and go through all of those hoops. And so what I wanted to do is create kind of a portal overlay on top of it, so that they can use kind of my credentials or something to make minor comments on the files. Now, what have I realized? Number one of the big questions I had is, as the owner of the repo, can I have a pull request? Now, normally that doesn't make much sense. The pull request is for the owner of the repo or the collaborators to review what you suggested to accept into the actual repo. Being the owner, my question is that avenue even available? And certainly it is. You don't need to fork anymore. You just create another branch. Now, what's helpful is you can actually do it right here. If I edit, I'll just take out part of here, maybe take out this header. You don't have to commit the changes. You can create a new branch and make it a pull request right off the bat. Now, why I really like the pull request is because even though they may not want to start an account, they can actually see the discussion tied to all of these changes. So if I go to the pull request and I see, lorem 2 is too long, I want to weigh in on that issue, I can see a history of it. Not that there's anything here, and there's some useful information, so I can take a look at the comparison, see what's different, review the changes, things like that. Now, what I realize is if I pick another somebody else's repo, this is Nico Hood's HID page, if I want to say modify the license, actually no, that's a bad idea. Let's say modify the keywords text. I can edit it, but what happens is I have to fork it. It'll automatically do it through the GitHub interface, but I'm forking it, I'm creating a new branch, and then I'll make the modifications and send those changes back. So that's not really what I want. I'd have to use credentials of somebody I know, whether it's myself or another individual, to create these pull requests. It's really nice. I realize that this is a really elegant solution, but it is very much tied to GitHub interface. If you use the API to do it, there's really not all that much. You create the pull itself, but it doesn't list any of the commits. So where is this? Create a pull request. I'll just zoom in a little bit here. You can put the title, you can put which branch to which branch, but you don't have the option of creating that yourself. So I suppose if I were to do it, I'd have to create the branch, push it, or create the commit, push it to a new branch, create the pulls, and do all of that. The other thing, the reason why I'm not really that happy with it is because ultimately what I wanted to do is go to lorem.md and be able to see all of the proposed changes somehow. And I just don't see that. You don't see the proposed changes anywhere until you kind of switch the paths, then you see what happened. But this isn't an all-in-one location type of thing. And so, yeah, I'm thinking for my purposes, as I said, I would have a bunch of these kind of legal documents and a portal that overlays GitHub. I'm thinking it makes the most sense to just use a discussion board within the portal that is outside of GitHub. I would have preferred that all of it gets pushed to GitHub so that they can see a record of it. But I think it makes the most sense this way. The other thing I could potentially do is create new issues. So new issues are simple. It wouldn't be tied to any file, but I would be able to, actually, here's a solution. Maybe I can do a new issue. I can use the portal to standardize the information, but I can save kind of the issue tag and where it came from in my backend. So what I'm saying is, in my website, my portal, I would be able to pull a file. So they would access Lorem 1 through my webpage and say they have a suggestion. They'll want to change this text, for example. They'll describe it in plain English. It's not line 1, modify these things. They'll just say, Lorem 1 is just too long. Take out the last 4 sentences of paragraph 1. what I'll do is create an issue, and I will have a standardized format. So it'll just be like path or file is here, date, person's name, whatever kind of general information, and then it'll have their comment is lorem 1 is too long, replace, remove last 4 sentences of paragraph 1, lorem 1. Okay, path lorem 1. So what will happen when they do this on my website is, one, I will ping the API of the GitHub API to create this issue. And number 2, I will save a separate link, a separate so I will save the ID of this. So if I create a what was it called? Issues. If I create an issue, it will probably return some sort of ID. So it'll return an ID of some sort. I'll be able to get a link to it, and I will save on my end that this file has somebody has created an issue through this file. So on my portal, I'll be able to see a list because I'm keeping track of it. Whereas GitHub will be a source of truth. All of it will go through here. Interesting. Okay, I think that's the approach I'm going to go about it. They can create new issues. They can log new issues. It'll just be thrown into the issues. Pull requests, I think, might be too difficult. They have to suggest some sort of concrete suggestion. I think issues will make more sense. They'll suggest, the law has changed for this document. We'll have to, say this, word it a bit differently. Okay. So I think I got what I need. I played a bit around with issues and pull requests. This is something that I've basically never seen as a hobbyist user of GitHub. But it's never a bad idea to get used to it, because if you do go out to become a professional developer, you get paid to do it, chances are you're gonna have to get much more familiar with GitHub than I am. I hope that was helpful. I feel like I just rambled for a long time, and this may be dead obvious to other people who are looking for cool projects. But again, hobbyist programmer, this is what I can and cannot do. If you enjoyed this video, I'd be surprised, but leave a comment below. If not, I am less surprised, but do let me know as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.